So back in the day, I used to do a lot of trainings on Dig, when Dig was really big. Dig was a really interesting network because a lot of people thought you could just jump in and submit stuff to Dig, and people would upvote it like crazy, and you get tons of traffic. It was like that for a while, but when it started getting more mature, it started acting like a social network. You could go in, you could build friendships with people, you could interact with other people, and a lot of people didn't see that back end side of things. And it was really interesting too because if you built up a large base of friends within the network, you could start to get things upvoted really, really easily, and then you'd hit the first page and you get a ton of traffic, right? That was really cool with Dig, but the reason that I even bring that up is because YouTube is actually really similar to that in a sense that there's a whole friend network behind YouTube where you can associate with other users, send them comments, send them videos, things like that that a lot of people don't necessarily take advantage of. So the tool that I'm going to talk about now is called Tube Toolbox, which is really focused around taking advantage of that aspect of YouTube, sending messages across YouTube to other people, capturing data from YouTube, sending friend requests, and I'll show you exactly what this thing can do, and that's a lot of stuff it can do, and why and how you can take advantage of it to get more views to your videos. So this is the main interface for Tube Toolbox. Now, those of you who have not worked with tools like this before, they came out when Twitter first started getting big. They're still out there for Facebook. They were there for MySpace. They're kind of like friend adders in a way, but don't look at it as just that. They're tools that automate a workflow, that simplify things for you. Now, if you're not comfortable with this, you can rest assured that this is something that you can use proxies with, that you can scale up, you can outsource to other people. But rest assured, this stuff does work. This stuff works really well, and the folks at Tube Toolbox do a really, really good job of making sure that it keeps your account secure so you won't run into trouble when you use a tool like this. So, call it black hat, call it gray hat, call it whatever you want. I like to call it getting traffic and making money. So if you want to do those things, then you could consider using a tool like Tube Toolbox. So we're not afraid of doing things like this. I mean, we'll create additional YouTube accounts and we'll comment across YouTube accounts. We'll do the same thing for adding friends, for subscribing. All of those things are not that uncommon in our market. So your competitors will do them, so you should be watching what they're doing, and you should also not be sitting down idly by just waiting for things to happen. So let's talk a little bit about what this tool actually does. So this tool is both an automator and a collector of data, and it does it from two different ways. Now, it automates the aspect of adding contacts or sending friend requests, sending messages to those groups, posting comments on both channels and videos, sharing videos with your friends, sending invites for subscriptions, subscribing to channels, unsubscribing to channels, all of these things which you would normally be doing manually, right? So let me walk you through a couple of quick iterations of what this tool could potentially do for you. So you see right on the top here it says gather users from pages, gather users from videos, and target spider search. I'm going to do a really quick gather from search results, and I'm going to do fly fishing as an example, and I'm going to hit go. So what it's going to do is it's going to go and it's going to do, let's see here, we'll do gather users from highest view count to lowest view count. So what it's going to do is it's going to pull up YouTube for that particular end result. This particular tool actually does take quite a bit of time. It's not a quick tool by any means. It's not the type of tool that you would use and say, I want something to happen right at this moment. But it is a really, really good tool to collect data. So in that particular iteration, it did the search for fly fishing, and then it pulled out the top 5 viewers for the search for fly fishing. That's a pretty simple thing. You could also gather from a particular user. So if I want to gather users from, I'll click on this. Let's gather from their contacts. I'm only going to gather 10 because I don't want to gather a lot right now, just to show you. So it's going to go and it's going to pull the top 6. That person only had 6 people in their contacts, and it collects that information and adds them to my database. So that's just a couple of ways that it actually starts to pull information, but where this gets interesting for you is how you actually use that information. Now, you could do it from user pages, you could do it from particular video pages, you can do this from any avenue on YouTube, and you can do it on quite a large scale. So instead of just doing 10 users, you could do hundreds of users or thousands of users, and you could build up a contact database. Now, by building up this contact database, it allows you to do some really interesting things, like adding contacts. So if I go and I find my entire database of people, so I captured these 5 people from my phishing search, I could take all these 5 people, I could select every single one of them, and I could send them friend invites. I could say, hey, would you be my friend, right? Great. Now the more of those that I get added into my account, I could go in and then I could turn around and say, after I have a lot of friends, I could send them a message. I could send them a set of preset messages. I could do a whole bunch of messages ahead of time, and I could say, check out my new video. It's great. Here's a link to it. I can put a link to my website, say, hey, if you like this video, you'll really like my website. And then you can even actually go in and capture their username, much like you can do with an email list. So if you do the $UN $, then it'll replace with their YouTube username and say, hey, YouTube username, thanks for being my friend. Come check out my website. I got a lot of great things on it. So it's basically like a tool that'll automate sending messages to everybody in your contact list. And you can add a couple of new messages so that when they do send messages out, it's not a single message to every single person. You have a variation of messages. Now you can also send this from a different set of accounts. So instead of just sending it from your one account, you can send it from 4 separate accounts. So you can go into here and you can add 4 accounts instead of just sending from one account. Now again, so you just pull from your recipient list, you go through, as you do spider, gather more users, you can build up this list, then you send those people as many messages as many times as you want. You can attach videos, you can attach your own videos. As you can see here, I can attach a video from my own list, or I could send them any additional messages I want. You could post comments on channels. Now, you've probably seen this happen. So if you have a CAPTCHA, you could skip it. Or you could sit here and you could manually enter CAPTCHA codes, or you could pay somebody else to sit there and manually enter CAPTCHA codes. Same kind of thing. The purpose of this tool is to build up users so you can do something with that user list. So if you have a whole bunch of friends, then you click your friend list and then you go through and you send them messages, or you post comments on their videos, or you post or you share videos with them, or you send them links to your website, or you send them links to your other videos. All of these things can help you in one way or another. So one of them can help you by bumping up the number of views to your YouTube videos, because people in YouTube like to stay on YouTube, or another one can potentially get more people to your website or to your call to action, whatever that might be. So if you have this, the bulk comment set up, you can do the same kind of thing. You can add in messages, and like I said, you've probably actually already got messages like this from a tool like this and didn't even know it. So you can add in messages, a series of preset messages, a title and a comment, and you can send it out across it, and it'll sort those messages out, and it'll do randomly posting to different groups. You could post comments on videos, comments on channels. Again, you could share videos with a message. Same thing. You can add your recipients from your gathered user list. You could post from 5 different accounts here. You can post your comment, and then you can pull from your videos right here. The same thing with handling subscriptions for your channels. You can try to get more subscribers to your channels by sending invites to your gathered list. You can do the same thing by subscribing to other people's channels. The reason that you do this is because a lot of times when you subscribe to one person's channel, they'll turn around and subscribe to yours. This works really well for Twitter. People auto-subscribe. So if I subscribe to a whole bunch of accounts, maybe 10% of them or 20% of them will auto-subscribe me back. So if I do it with Twitter, they'll follow me back. So it helps to build my following and also build my subscriber base, which looks good for YouTube. If you want to go back later then, so if you sent out a whole bunch of them and you're way, way overbalanced, so you have a lot more subscriptions than you do subscribers, then you go back and you clean up your list after a while. So this is a really, really good way to automate a huge number of tasks that would be done manually normally. People used to do this kind of stuff all the time, but they do it manually. So they go through, find this particular user, so I go to this guy's page, and then I'd send him... I'd friend this person. So just like I would do on YouTube or anything else, I could subscribe to this channel, or I could request to that person to be their friend. A subscription is kind of the same thing as being a friend. So you'll see friends talked about here, but they don't really have friend requests anymore. You're doing subscriptions now. So they've grouped them together. But regardless, the idea is still exactly the same. So as you build these out, you can do the same kind of things. You can send messages, you can post messages on a channel, and if you have an active YouTube channel, you'll see what I mean, because you'll get a lot of stuff in your inbox, and I'll show you that you'll get a lot of this kind of stuff. You'll get a lot of these types of messages. This is basically the kind of thing that this tool can do. This tool can automate this for you, so everything that goes in these contact suggestions, comments, these shares, personal messages, all of this stuff, you can automate all this, but you can do it on a really, really big scale. And this works, okay? I know people look at this and they go, well, that's spamming, but guess what? You get a lot of views from this kind of stuff. So if you're doing this with thousands of people all the time, then at the end of the day, you're going to get hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of additional views by automating this process. Now, a lot of times you're going to need to do this on a computer which you're not using for a lot of other things. So if you have a spare laptop, set it up, let it run, because this isn't a fast tool. So when you're spidering from pages, as an example, you can set a really, really high number here. So you could do 1,000, you could do a ton. You could let this run for a really long time. But again, keep in mind, the way this tool works is if you're doing that, it's going to do it from a very set number of accounts. So if you're sending messages to all those, it's only going to do it from 5 accounts at a time. So it'll go through your 5 YouTube accounts, do it one at a time, and then go back. Then do those 5, then go back. Then do those 5 and go back and loop. Now, it does the same thing when it's gathering users. It goes page by page by page. So if I'm doing 100 users, it's going to take a relatively long time to pull all those in. Now, if I do 1,000, it's going to take even longer. So keep in mind, this is not a tool that's going to give you super fast results from the tool, but once it's done its work, you can really, really automate the process of scaling up your account.